Have you ever looked at the news and heard about the US national debt hitting another record high? That Japan's debt is over twice the size of its entire economy. It seems like every country on Earth is drowning in debt. The total global debt has surged past an unimaginable $315 trillion. That's more than 3 times the value of everything the entire world produces in a year. It's a number so big, our brains can't really comprehend it. But it begs a very simple, very logical question. If everyone is in debt, who exactly are we all borrowing from? Who is the creditor? Is there some secret, ultra-rich alien civilization we've been taking loans from? The answer is both simpler and far more bizarre than that. And once you understand it, you'll never look at money, your country, or the global economy the same way again. The truth is, the world essentially owes the money to itself. But stick with me, because how that works is the real story. To unravel this mystery, we first need to change how we think about debt. We tend to see debt as a bad thing, a sign of failure. But in the modern world, debt isn't just a byproduct of the economy. It is the economy. It's the very architecture of our civilization. It's the engine that powers governments, funds, corporations, and even creates the money in your bank account. Let's start with governments. When a government, like the United States, wants to spend more money than it collects in taxes, which is almost always it does on just print more cash, that would cause hyperinflation. Instead, it issues debt in the form of government bonds. Think of a bond as a formal IOU. The government says, lend me $1,000 today, and I promise to pay you back in 10 years, with interest along the way. So, who buys these bonds? Who is lending the government all this money? You might think it's other countries, like China or Saudi Arabia. And while foreign countries do hold a significant chunk of US debt, they are not the main lenders. The shocking truth is, the biggest lender to the US government is the American people. You, me, your neighbor, we are the primary creditors. Now, you probably don't remember writing a check to the Treasury Department. It happens indirectly, almost invisibly. When you deposit money into a bank, what does the bank do with it? It needs to put that money to work to earn a return. One of the safest investments a bank can make is buying US government bonds. The same goes for your pension fund, your 401k, and the insurance company that holds your policies. These institutions take our collective savings and lend them to the government. In the United States, about 70% of the national debt is held domestically. This means the US government largely owes money to its own citizens and institutions. It's a closed loop. And this isn't just an American phenomenon. In Japan, the situation is even more extreme. Despite having the highest debt-to-GDP ratio in the developed world, nearly 90% of its debt is held internally by Japanese citizens and the Bank of Japan. So, when you hear that Japan is the most indebted nation, what it really means is that Japanese citizens are the world's biggest savers, and they've lent all that money to their own government. The global financial system is a massive, tangled web of these interconnected IOUs. The US owes money to Japan. Japan owes money to its citizens. American citizens have their savings in banks that owe them money, and those banks owe money to the government. We're all simultaneously debtors and creditors. But this brings us to an even deeper level of the rabbit hole. Where does the money to buy all this debt even come from? We think of money as something printed by the government, right? Coins and paper bills. But physical cash makes up only a tiny fraction of the money supply, less than 10%. Where does the other 90% come from? It's created out of thin air by commercial banks. When you go to a bank to get a loan for a car or a house, the bank doesn't take money from its vault and hand it to you. It simply types numbers into your account. Poof. New money has just been created. This new money is, by its very definition, a form of debt. You owe it back to the bank. This means that almost all the money circulating in the world today is debt. So a huge portion of that $315 trillion in global debt is owed back to the very banking system that created the money in the first place. This is where the story gets really interesting. At the heart of this entire system sit the central banks. The Federal Reserve in the US, the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, the People's Bank of China. These institutions are the puppet masters of the financial world. They have a superpower that no one else has. The ability to create money electronically, instantly, and in unlimited quantities. For decades, central banks played a relatively quiet role, managing interest rates and acting as a lender of last resort. But since the 2008 financial crisis, they have stepped into the spotlight. They began a process called quantitative easing, which is a fancy term for creating trillions of dollars and using that new money to buy up government bonds and other assets. Think about what this means. When the US government issues debt and there aren't enough buyers, the Federal Reserve can just step in, create new dollars, and buy that debt itself. It's like writing an IOU to yourself. This has turned central banks into the ultimate creditors. They now hold tens of trillions of dollars worth of global assets on their balance sheets. They are, in a very real sense, the entity to whom the world is indebted. But even this isn't the final answer. Because there's a philosophical, almost metaphysical layer to this question. If central banks can just create money to buy debt, who are they accountable to? Who is their creditor? The true creditor, the one who will ultimately collect on all of this, is the future. Every dollar of debt created today is a claim on future economic production. It's a way of pulling future prosperity into the present. We are borrowing from our children and our grandchildren. For decades, this system worked because economies were growing fast enough to outpace the growth of debt. Economic growth was the fuel that kept the engine running. But what happens when that growth slows down? When populations age, when productivity stagnates, when we hit the physical limits of our planet, the debt doesn't disappear. The machine has been built on a premise of endless expansion, and when that expansion falters, the debt becomes an unbearable weight. We are now seeing the cracks in the foundation. Rising interest rates are making it more expensive for governments to service their massive debts. Geopolitical tensions are fracturing the global cooperation that this system relies on. We are reaching a breaking point. Even though the world technically owes the money to itself, the pressure is very real. It squeezes governments, forcing them to choose between cutting services or raising taxes. It puts pressure on banks, creating systemic risk. And it puts pressure on you, the citizen, through inflation that erodes your savings and the looming threat of financial instability. The scariest part is that no one is truly in control. Not presidents, not prime ministers, not even the heads of central banks. The system has become a self-perpetuating machine, an algorithm programmed for one thing: more debt, more consumption, more growth, at any cost. The machine now controls its creators. So, who is the creditor? The creditor is the future. And eventually, the future will come to collect the bill. When it does, the price won't be measured in dollars, or euros, or yen. It will be measured in the social and political chaos that unfolds when a system built on an impossible promise finally collapses under its own weight. The bill is coming due, and it will be far greater than any number on a spreadsheet. Thanks for watching. If this video gave you a new perspective on how the world works, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the systems that control our lives. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.